Well, welcome to another episode, Let the Truth Be Known. My name is Sean Williams, and I am blessed to be in the studio once again with my good friend Jason, and also a guest of mine, a very close friend named Roland Hunt. I asked him to come on the program with me today so that we could tape a program and be able to bring you guys a lot of information. So, I mean, I met Roland here some years ago.
Yeah.
Some years ago. And we stayed in close contact and stayed close friends ever since. And and so through my barbershop experience, we kind of met, and I really don't even know how that kind of went. It just kind of trickled and just kind of fumbled along the way. And so thank you guys for everything that you've been doing out there in the community. I know we got a lot going on, but today we're going to focus right in on finances. We're going to talk about our investment group that we've been working with. And so I want Roland to introduce yourself. Tell the viewing audience a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Roland Hunt, and I've been a resident of Champaign-Urbana now for 21 years.
Wow.
And like Sean was saying, I came to Champaign back in 2000, and I needed a haircut of all things. And someone said to me, go to the Whip. So I went over to the Whip, and we've been friends ever since.
Well, 21 years, maybe we whip you right on up and whip you in, huh? Yeah, and so after that experience and just being in the community, I mean, where you originally from?
Well, I came here from the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Croix, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and we came here to go to the U of I. We is my wife and I, and she is currently working on campus, and I do a little bit of freelancing. I did some real estate earlier in my time here, but right now I'm doing a lot of financial literacy education.
Yeah, and so, coming from the U.S. Virgin Islands and coming to the United States and coming to, our small town of Champaign-Urbana, how does that differ? Because I think sometimes it's hard for us to see outside of our own lens.
Well, the U.S. Virgin Islands it's an island. We do things that island people do. We go to work, we live, and very similar to what happens here in Champaign. Champaign is a very small community, just like where I originate from, and I think that's one of the reasons why my wife and I have settled here in Champaign.
Right. Well, we're glad you're here, and you've been here 21 years, so it seems like that you have, probably ground rooted yourself.
Right.
And so I know over the years, we've been friends, and I know years ago, you guys got into trade, and I was too distracted to kind of get involved. You stuck with it, and so after my experience right during that club experience and right before COVID, I know I was with Brother Hub, and he sat down with me, and he said I was to stop by his clothing store, and I'm always hustle and bustle, and he said, man, slow down, Sean, because I asked him, I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm on my Robinhood app, and I asked him, what is Robinhood? And he said, man, it's an app, and I wasn't really technically inclined, and he's like, man, sit down. He said, man, I download this app. Mm-hmm. And so I downloaded the app, and I sat at home. I'm like most Americans, I'm kind of leery on putting my money out there on some things I don't know. Right. It was, I think I put in my investment account $100. Okay. Within a few weeks, I made about $300, and that sent a nice red flag up for me that I need to pay attention.
Okay.
And so I started paying more attention. I started doing research, and like some of the students, we just finished our class here just a minute ago, but just like some of the students that were in here, they're involved within Forex trading.
Right.
I couldn't distinguish what was Forex trading, what was the stock market, what was crypto, and so it was a lot confusing. I ended up purchasing some things on through an account with through Forex Trading, an academy that's on there for $189.
Okay.
I wasn't too enthused because I wanted one-on-one training.
Okay.
And so I found some YouTubers that were out there that broke things down to a level that I can understand.
That you could comprehend.
That I personally could comprehend. And so I've stuck with those folks, but then I got back with you, and you were able to help us, along with other citizens throughout the community, learn about the stock market, learn about how important this is for us to learn and sit down and learn. And I know, I had a barbershop. I had the barbershop for 20-some years.
Right.
We never really personally opened it up for a dialogue. We talked about a lot of things in the barbershop, but we never personally opened up with a dialogue about investing and how important that is for everyone to invest. How important is that for everyone to get involved in investing?
I personally think that if you're not investing your own money, someone is investing it for you.
Right.
And if someone else is investing it for you, they're not really telling you how much money they're making off of you. I encourage people to begin to learn how to invest. I'm a student of the Bible, and in Matthew 25 it talks about the steward, or the steward or the worker who was given 1 talent, and his job was to multiply the talent, and he decided he was going to bury the talent. And when the master came back for to settle accounts, the master wasn't too pleased. Let me just sum it up that way.
Right.
But I think many of us struggle financially today because we have given someone else that responsibility. We live in a society where a lot of people just give up their responsibilities to certain things, and I think it's time we take back that responsibility of handling our monies. In 2012, I actually began learning how to trade. I think with my last $500 from the market crash, from the housing market crash and stuff of that nature. And I've been learning ever since. The stock market has, of course, all of the swings, all the volatilities, but as you apply yourself in anything, you eventually learn over time how to master it. I think it was last year when several investment groups have approached me about teaching. That's when I actually began saying, maybe you can teach, maybe you can do it. So I've been instructing now, and of course, like you said, I instruct in your class. So I just enjoy teaching, though. Giving people the revelations, giving them the eye-opening experience, and I love to build confidence in people, because that's how we're going to change. We don't change any other way but by working with each other, right?
Right. And so, for me, I've been involved with the barbershop and then got involved with community work, right? And so I've been at meeting after meeting after meeting and spent probably thousands of hours at meetings, and we still have the same issues, right? And we talked a little bit here when you just made a conversation, is that we've been taught a certain way. So culturally, as I grew up, and I know what I did when I went to the bank, or I seen my mother go to the bank. We only used the bank for one purpose, to cash a check.
Right.
When we seen other folks in other departments of the bank, we didn't care about that, or that wasn't relevant to us, what was happening in those other spaces. And so we didn't know about maybe some type of money market account. We didn't know nothing about any other investing that was going on within the banking system. We just utilized it for a checking or a savings account, or hearing somebody say, you need to put something up for a rainy day.
Right.
Okay? And so culturally, that's what we know about banking. We didn't know that the bank only give you here, and during this age now, 0.01% of what you have in the bank. Right. We didn't know that. And I think most of us if you ask most Americans right now, how much interest does your bank give you on your account? Most people won't know.
Well, I think one of the things that happened is that maybe about 15 to maybe 20 years ago, our ancestors, grandparents, aunties, uncles, well-intentioned, told us to put our money in the bank. Now, in those days, the interest rate was 6%, 7%. It was sizable. It was actually a good investment. But what has happened is that information has become outdated because, for different reasons, economic reasons, the banks, they're not giving us that hefty of an interest rate, for holding our money. We're now near 1% or a fraction of that even. So the situation has changed. So we now have to take an action commiserate with that change. And I think one of the things that would definitely help us is if we were to, just go down to our local bank and find out how much interest you're making on whatever accounts you do have. And then, once you're finished, explore other ways that you can make more with what's given to you. One of the things that Jesus did was when he received the 5 loaves and 2 fish, he multiplied it. Most people get caught up with the miracle saying, well, how did he do it? More people gave this, or that's not the question. The question is that when he got something, he multiplied it. He didn't just say, well, this is it. This is all I have, Lord. No, he said, thank you, Lord, and I appreciate it. And then he multiplied. And then the key to that parable is that he collected what was left. I think most of us, with back to my conversation of responsibility, the Bible says he picked up enough to come up with 12 bags. Because what's happening is, it's about stewardship. It's about management. It's about those characteristics that we are responsible for. And I think many times, for whatever reason, we decide not to pick up that responsibility, or we make the bank responsible or someone else responsible, and we pay a price for that. You pay a real heavy price in your life for not taking up what your responsibility is. So
yeah, and I can really relate to that, because I always tell, one of the sayings I always say is, people get paid off your dysfunction. And I always tell my community folks that, no matter what state of mind you are, or what position that you're in, or your circumstances, people get paid for your dysfunction. So what you don't want to do, somebody else will do it at a price.
Right.
And so,
and I'd like to add this. As you termed it, paid off of their dysfunction. Dysfunction is actually taught, through ignorance or deliberance. People, try to wrestle that responsibility away from you, because we live in a democratic society, and money is the linchpin or the critical component of our society. So in your pursuit to try to make a living, some people go ahead and break people down to take advantage of them. You see what I'm saying? So that's why the Bible says, Hosea 4:6, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. Because when you don't know something and someone else knows you don't know, now they can take advantage of you. But, one of the things that I think we do is that we give this information away. We're not trying to make a buck. Do you charge anyone for these classes? Free. We
just said free. We had all the students saying free.
So no excuses at that point, because the information is out there. We have a very comfortable facility here. If you would like to, you can come on down and get a class or two in, and learn how to manage your money.
When you said that people take advantage of you, And you made me have a flashback. So I bet this was, oh my goodness, it had to be 1988, 89. I was in Germany, and I was on post. We had a dealership right off post, and it was a Nissan dealership. The Nissan Sentra had just come out, and the Nissan Maxima had just come out.
Okay.
And a lot of the GIs were buying the Nissan Maxima. I wanted a Nissan Maxima. But I talked to the sales guy, and he said, man, you know, with your credit and stuff, yeah, man, we really can probably just get you in the Nissan Sentra. Look at the Nissan Sentra, it's nice. And they had this one that was on the lot. It didn't have any, I don't even think it had AC. But he made me feel as though that was the car for me.
Right.
You know, and oh man, look at it, man. It started it up and turned the radio on and hit the gas a little bit. And I ended up purchasing that vehicle, a Nissan. But then I learned more information over the years. I really got mad at the sales guy, but I was long gone. I was back in the United States. But I got real mad because I understood that he was selling me something because they really had nothing else. And he made commission. If he got the cars that's been on the lot a little longer, he got commission for getting those cars off the lot.
Selling those cars.
And so it wasn't really about my credit, me personally, it was all about his pocket and the other guy's pocket and the dealership's pocket.
Right.
And so when you said we get beat up because we perish for the lack of knowledge, I perished at the moment because I didn't have the information.
Well, I would say that you, in that situation, you just didn't know. You were a young guy, you were over in Germany, and you just needed transportation. But I think when the information is available, free,
Yeah.
and you turn it down and you say, well, I'm not going for whatever reason, then it's kind of like, you're making your own bed. You're suffering unnecessarily. So, and we do live in a society where everyone is free. That's one of the things about living here in America. You're free to do whatever you want. But I think it would just be to people's advantage if they were to try and get a little more information.
And me and you converse a lot and about a whole bunch of different array of topics. And living in America, everything's free to do what you want to do. You're not forced.
Right.
And so for me being abroad and you being abroad, it's not like that everywhere.
No,
right?
it's not.
And so when we just talked about China and some of the things that China's doing for their citizens, some of the things they're doing even for their billionaires that would not be tolerated in the United States.
Right.
To make your billionaires cut their business in half and give some money away to the poor.
Right.
So that we balance out the economy. So now we force people to give away some of their riches, some of their fortunes to bring up other families, to bring the economy up so everybody has a little something besides the government giving out so much.
I think one of the things that happens, Sean, is that unlike the Far East, we're taught here to create what's called a win-lose scenario. Not a win-win. Win-lose. I win, you lose. You see what I'm saying? And until that philosophy, turns to a win-win scenario, we're going to continue to see an erosion of our society. The level of information is different. There's just so many different differences between the haves and the have-nots. I'll sum it up that way. And I will also say this: the have-nots have got to be able to become more diligent in their efforts to, find out what makes a have and a have-not have not. Right. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So.
Right. And I think you hit the nail on the head. We're waiting for someone else.
Yeah.
To turn the light switch on for us.
Yeah.
And so we're still waiting. And I think a lot of us, at least I know in our culture, You know, we're a lottery playing culture. You know, we're you know, waiting for our ship to come in. You know, we're a religious culture. So, you know, we're praying, God, please, please. And we're waiting on God to deliver for us when God's really probably waiting on us.
You know, it's so funny that you said that, because Genesis chapter 2 says that everything was in place, everything was prepared, and God did not allow it to rain because he didn't have a man to manage it. He didn't have a worker. And I think many times we're waiting on the Lord. You know, that's a famous expression that a lot of religious people use. And I think the Lord is waiting on us. You know what I mean? So it's like one of old Western OK Corral, where we're both waiting on each other. And
who gonna turn around
and who has more time? You know what I mean? So we you know, it's a lot of it has got to do with your ability to acquire information, to seek it, to go after it.
Yeah.
And I just think that a lot of things happen within not just this community, but all communities, where people are not fully informed.
Yeah. You know, I was doing a radio program, and I guess when I was on my way to the radio program last Sunday, I seen a homeless guy laying on a sidewalk downtown Champaign. Okay. It looked like he just laid down, no cover, no anything. Nothing. He just laid down on the ground and just kind of just gave up, you know, just, this is it for me. This is it, and this is who I am, and I'm just finna rest just right here in front of this business. And I'm like, man, it seems that a mechanism should kick in, right? To say, man, I have to force myself to do better to get out of the situation. The same way I see people get stuck into generational curses or get stuck into impoverished situations, you know, because I look at like the city of Champaign, I look at like guys that's activists that fight for more resources and things of that nature, but resources could be right there at the fingertips.
And people still not participate.
And we won't go. Yeah. I look at, we're dealing with a lot of gun violence in the community right now. And so I was looking at one of Pastor Comer's message this morning, that we're going to go and we're going to stand out in front of Centennial School and we're going to pray. And repetitively, after violence after violence, violence after violence, we continue to do the same thing. We're going to pray. And when we do have these gatherings of people, it's still the same do-gooders at the prayer opposed to the people that's needing the prayer or the information or the resources. There's never a change of guard where the folks that's maybe the shooters or even some of the victims, even at the table or at the circle.
You know, one of the things about prayer, and I'm glad we're here with prayer, because prayer changes things. But one of the things that prayer does change is the human heart. And many of us, and not just in our community, this problem, it's worldwide. The youth are not accepting what their parents accepted, okay? That's really what it is. They want answers. This generation is not going to go away quietly into the night and just be passive. They're different. And I think one of the things that's challenging to us is that we don't have answers to some of their questions. And it's bothersome, because what we do is we say, well, I didn't ask my mama these questions. I respected my mama. But, you know, maybe that was good for your time. You see what I'm saying? But we're in a different time now. And I'm not saying that the children are any worse or any better, or I don't think there's a reason to qualify or quantify. I just think that, you know, these are the kids of today, and we have to do what we have to do. We have to take care of the kids. And if they present a unique challenge to us, it's up to us to step up to meet the challenge.
Right.
I think along with prayer, because I do believe in prayer, there should be some follow-up. And I think we need to bring the warring factions together. I think we need to find out, get into the causation and, find out what's going on and see if we can somehow mediate these issues, There's a reason why this is occurring, and we need to find out why.
Right.
I just think that many times when we utilize the power of prayer, we think that, well, I prayed about it and I've done all that I can, so Jesus is up to you to take care of it. And Jesus is saying, well, I'm not down there. I left you there because you're my representative. And we're like, no, Jesus, we need you to come back. And Jesus says, no, I'm not coming back. It's up to you to do it. Mm-hmm. So, once again, we end up with that corral gunfight position. You do it, I do it, I do it, you do it. And it's just not being done. You know what I mean? So.
Mm. And then I think people end up getting to a place where they just settle. Well, after that situation's over with.
I think what happens is that eventually we're going to have to take some kind of action, whether it's deliberate or it's reactive.
Roland, we're in a tech-savvy world, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think technology, the advanced technology, and exposure mm-hmm. to technology. Me and you, we both talk about a lot of different things. I mean, my wheels are going as I've been, reading the stock market and watching investors and learning about institutional investors and all of these different people that play a role in just society and how we do things. And so my wheels are turning. But when we talk about blockchain technology and all of those different things that most people wouldn't even be aware about mm-hmm. is because they're not exposed to the knowledge that teach you about blockchain technology because right. we're so stuck on the cowboys or maybe your daytime shows or your evening shows, your nightly shows mm-hmm.
that
we're not learning this information.
Mm-hmm.
But things like blockchain technology, can you explain to the viewing audience what's blockchain technology?
Basically, blockchain technology is and I have an extensive vocabulary, so please forgive me, but it's the decentralizing of institutions or organizations that control our society. It's basically going to be more peer-to-peer interactions or people who have common interests coming together. Now, the analogy that when I learned about blockchain was that of a bank ledger. In a bank ledger, you have credits and you have debits. And then, of course, the bank manager or whatever hierarchy the bank had, they would be the custodians of the ledger. Well, blockchain breaks all of that up. Blockchain gives every access to the ledger to see what everyone is doing, to see what entries are entering. I think one of the things that blockchain technology is after is corruption, centralizing power. It's trying to spread the responsibility and the wealth with or evenly. No more one segment having all power. It's going to now be dispersed equally and evenly. Right now, we're seeing the advent of the money first. That's what we see with the crypto and the Bitcoin mm-hmm. and all of that. The second phase is the Ethereum, mm-hmm. where you are now seeing services put on that ledger and peer-to-peer interaction. Phase 3 is the one I'm really excited about. That's when we start to see communities interaction. That's when our cars will become fully autonomous driving mm-hmm. cars. That's when our hospital records and all of this stuff will just be centralized. Now, of course, with the advent of that, there's a fear that comes along that says, I don't want my business out there. But what this generation is expressing is that it's been this old way so long that it has to change. So I think I said it earlier. We're going to change either deliberately or or purposefully. You know what I mean? But a change is going to come.
So when you mention that, because we're governed under the Constitution, right? And so our civil liberties, as far as our privacy, being protected. Mm-hmm. So when you get to talking about sharing data, mm-hmm. when you get to talking about sharing my medical records, mm-hmm. That's all a part of blockchain technology.
Yeah.
When you get to sharing my maybe criminal history, or sharing my driver's information, mm-hmm. or sharing, I don't know, educational backgrounds, or whatever the case it might be. Mm-hmm. All the things that might be personal to me. Mm-hmm. My career history, or whatever, my job history. Mm-hmm. All of those things that you're saying be open to the ledger for everybody to see.
Right. And I think we have a fear of that type of information now because of the type of society in which we live. There is judgmental people. There are people who are on top that actually would oppress you or not offer you the job because of the background. I think in that environment, you'll be dealing with all people who have similar records coming together and being in charge mm-hmm. of their information. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So there is power in coming together, and I by no stretch of the imagination understand all of what the third phase of the Bitcoin, of the crypto blockchain, revolution is going to be, but I do know that we're going to experience major change.
I know after we had a class and you got to explain it about blockchain, and then I sat at home and I watched a 60 minutes show, and it was talking about this company out of Texas that was a trucking company, Simply Trucking, I think the name of it mm-hmm. was, and they had an autonomous truck, so self-driving truck.
Yep.
And so they had this truck, and it had maybe hundreds of cameras around this truck. Mm-hmm. And they had the scientists that were working the trucks, and they were actually in the back part of the cab, and the truck was actually driving itself. And, and it had the map, and it was going from Texas to Florida, and it's been on the highway, and you probably didn't see the truck ride by, you just didn't know it didn't have a driver in the seat.
Right.
And so, but it was collecting data along the way.
Yes.
And so it was blowing me away to see this show, and right after our conversation that we had with the whole group of people in the class, and it was collecting data, but they was talking about not only will this truck be able to bring freight back and forth from mm-hmm. Florida to Texas, mm-hmm. it's gonna pick up a lot of data along the way. Mm-hmm. So license plates, and you and your family coming from Florida, and you're now going into Georgia, and folks going into Georgia and to Florida, mm-hmm. and now these folks got license plates, and they can actually send things about vacations and hotels and all of this different information they can mm-hmm. send right to your home because they know you've been traveling and all of these different things. Just the amount of marketing that can happen, and we always wonder how some of this stuff happening. How is some of this stuff happening without our knowledge, because of the fact that it's just so much technology out there that's being used, and then it's a lot of fine print that you sign.
Yep.
A lot of fine print. They give you 25 pages when you, like my Apple phone keep going off over here. It's 25 pages that you sign saying, hey, look, I don't got enough time, because we don't got enough time for nothing. We just sure ain't got time to read 25 pages. And we've been inside the Apple store 4 hours trying to get our new phone. So we just sign off on it, and it's really sometimes we're selling off our information. Exposure.
Sadly, we live in a society where what you do, when you do it, how you do it, that is now a commodity that is for sale. And I say sadly because we don't really think it has value, but It does. And we're going to see some serious changes to our world, our communities, our nation, our communities, and even in our own homes. If we look at Walmart, there are now robots in control of sweeping the aisles and cleaning the aisles in Walmart.
Wow. It's taking away the opportunity for a janitor.
Yeah. If you look at the cashier structure, I remember when Walmart had all in-person cashiers. Now the in-person cashiers, if you look at it, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. The self-checkout aisles are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's gradual, but it's a change that's occurring if you're conscious of it. Technology is, impacting our lives, and unless you are ahead of it, instead of reacting to it, then it's gonna impact you in a major way.
Yeah, Roland. I think that we're so far behind the 8 ball as far as Americans, because because of that me versus you thing that go on within America instead of a us thing or a we thing. And I think, because right now we're arguing, should you take the shot? Should you not take the shot? Should you get a booster? Should my kids be in school? Should my kids not be in school? When folks like Russia and China, they've been aggressively working on their citizens, aggressively working on being a global power. And so, like China just, they know that they know that playing the Xbox and all of that stuff is not really functionable for their youth, right? To be doing that. So they just limit the amount of usage that some of their teenagers can do on playing PlayStation or any of that stuff. So they made a mandate that these people come up with a certain app, and it shuts a user off after 3 hours.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
Until another 24 hours.
Right.
So they can't get on for another 24 hours. So you only get 3 hours out of the day. There's no longer in China where you're going to be a young teenager on Grand Theft Auto all day.
Okay.
You're going to spend the rest of the time doing something different until the next day.
Until the next day.
And they understand the poison that they put out.
That's a strong word.
They understand that the poison and how it can damage the mentality and have you think in a certain way.
I see it this way, Sean. Parents are responsible for the development of their kids. And that goes a little bit back to when we were talking earlier about the money. You can't keep giving the responsibility over to other things, other people, and think that they're going to do what's in the best interest of your child. It's sort of like your own personal health. More or less, we just eat what we want, we do what we want until the doctor says, okay, this is upon you now. Now we're ready to make the change, because, that's a shame. Yes, it is a shame, but it's where we're at. And I really do believe that as Americans, there's very little that Americans can't do. It's just that they have to be purposed to do it, and they got to understand to do it. I think in terms of us back and forth and the bickering and stuff like that, I think it has always been there. I think it just got pacified for a little while, but when everything settles down, I really do believe that we can rebound from those type things. But in terms of what the other countries are doing, like Russia and China, they've been after the American position now for a long time. And we have to come to the realization that we are, when you're leading the pack, there's always people on your tail trying to overtake you. You know what I mean? And the responsibility that comes with leading is something that we have to reintroduce.
Right.
We gotta let the children know nothing wrong with playing, but there's more hours that need to be allocated towards this leadership, towards this, because this is gonna play a role or a bigger role in your life than you're thinking of right now. You know, one of the things that I grew up with very, very strong grandparents. And my grandparents, they weren't typical grandparents. They instructed me, they corrected me, chastised me, sternly spoke to me. And I know that's, in our society today, that's kind of frowned upon. But the end result is developing a young man or a young woman that can be effective in society. I think one of the things that has been digressed in our society is worrying about the outcome of our kids. Mm-hmm. We want them to become the mayors. We want them to become the business owners. We want them to become the figures in our society, instead of looking for other people to fill those roles. Mm-hmm. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine the other day, and they kept using the word they. And the more I heard the word they, I was saying, well, it's not a they, but it's really a we, or me. You know what I mean? And that's part of that mindset where, you know, it's someone else's responsibility. It's not mine. It can't be me. I'm not supposed to do anything. I'm just supposed to just, you know, live my life. I think, I think that will eventually shake out as the kids get older and learn more responsibilities. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think when you say parenting, you know, I was thinking about, it's hard to teach what you don't know or what you don't believe in.
That's so true.
You know, and so if you don't believe in it, and I think, you know, as we open this investing class up, because we believe in it, and we open it up, and we had the kids group, and and we've seen, I mean, kids that got involved, and then they got their parents involved, and now the parents are actually getting trained.
Right.
And so we've seen that. We've seen the young person come in, and they were an introvert. You know, they weren't really open. They were kind of shelled, and once we got them involved with investing, and they started seeing more value in themselves as we purchased valued companies, then they start feeling more valuable, and parents were able to say, well, man, he's really changing, or she's really changing.
Yeah.
And you know, and so thank God for your help and us coming together to be able to help those young folks see that. But the parents didn't know.
Right.
And so when we go back to saying putting the bunt right on the parents, because we only believe in people and things that we trust.
Okay.
And if we don't trust it, then we don't believe in it. Oh my goodness. Please forgive me for that phone going off. But we only believe in things that we trust. And if we don't trust it, then we don't believe it.
Right.
We don't think that it's true. And right? And so I'm a stickler to this, because I always like to throw a net opposed to a reel. Okay. You know, and so when I throw my net, that's why I do TV, that's why I do radio, because we can do the net fishing, right? Right. To be able to get at folks. And I understand that, you know, we all go to like maybe churches or some group where there's a lot of people at one time. Right. And I understand that there's a leader that's there, right? And so the leader kind of dictate to the group what's important, what's not important. And so if the leader doesn't know the information, then the congregation kind of suffer, or the group kind of suffers, because the leader doesn't feel like, and I feel the same way with parenting. If you, that whole trail that's following you just kind of falters to the side, because you don't understand that this information is valuable.
I have to go back to the biblical principle of you have an individual who's part of a family, and then a family that's part of a community, and then a community that's part of a nation. See what I'm saying? I think there is some form of where the information isn't being transferred quite correctly between the community and the family. I think the family, its composition, in our modern society is different than in the Bible times. But I think the responsibilities of how the family acquires the information, which is what you're specifying, it's a little different today. Of course, we have internet, we have Facebook, we have much more different news outlets where people gather information from. But I think people have to just continue to be to seek knowledge. The other thing that needs to be reinstituted is community building, where we begin to care about our neighbors. I think you were the one that expressed to me the other day that moms don't even know each other anymore. And I was like, wow. I mean, I personally don't have any kids, but if I were a mom or a dad, or if I had kids, I would want to know who their friends are.
Yeah.
I want to know who their parents are. I want to know who you're spending time with.
Yeah.
I mean, these are just foundational tools that helps you to know what's going on with your kids. And if you're not doing those things, well, it's going to be difficult, And children like to know when their parents care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When their parents are involved,
Yeah.
and it's difficult for kids to follow if the enforcement isn't there. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not here to say any family structure is wrong or right, but what I am saying is that the families need to make sure that when they do get information and they disseminate information, that it is it's accurate and it's correct, and it's in alignment with what the community goals are. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, you made me have a flashback on a conversation I had, I think it was yesterday, and of a young lady, and she was talking to me. She's out of Chicago, and her son got killed this past weekend, 19 years old.
Wow.
And she's going through a troubling time, so I was trying to bring her some peace on yesterday through the conversation.
Okay.
But her son would slide out to a certain part of the town, of the community, and she didn't know his friends.
Wow.
So hanging around the wrong folks.
Yeah.
She feel as though, and the dad feel as though that led up to his demise, and she didn't really know who his friends were.
Yeah.
So being involved into that young person's life and knowing exactly where you're going, who you're hanging out with,
Right.
that's really very important.
Yeah.
Another thing that I want to ask you, Roland, was that I often hear this cliche a lot in the community, and I often hear from folks that have pretty much given up and that look at other folks, but they'll say, money ain't everything. Money ain't everything. That's the first thing they'll say. Money ain't everything, And I guess, and I've listened to you years and years, and I've always told you were wise, even though you were younger than me. But
Thank you.
I would always say, so in that statement, money isn't everything, and including that with, our purpose of being here in life and leaving the next generation better than when we got here. And you said you guys don't have children, but if you had children and putting them in a better position to win, and as I get exposed to more and more about financial literacy, it's teaching you how to put somebody in the driver's seat instead of leaving them in the trunk.
Personally, I think that I don't think money is everything, but I think money plays a role in in helping our journey through this life. See what I'm saying? It's a tool.
It's a tool. And
to ignore it, Jesus did not ignore it. Jesus didn't say, well, you don't need money, so just live your lives and I'll supernaturally rain down manna to you. He didn't say that. But in fact, he told us how to manage money. He taught us. He used the parable where he said the sons of this world are more wise in dealing than the sons of light. So therefore, go and make friends of them. He wouldn't tell us to go and make friends with them if if there wasn't relevance to learning how to handle and manage our money.
So that scripture that you just mentioned, kind of, I want you to stick there. That was more so because I grew up in a Pentecostal church.
Okay.
And they would always say this: the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous.
Right.
So
the question is, well, let me finish that thought and then I'll answer this one. We have to understand that money is a tool and it plays a role. I think in our society, if we're not doing too well managing our money, then we tend to just push it away and say, it can't be managed. So, money isn't everything. But if we were to learn how to manage it and how to use it, you will learn that it makes life better.
right.
Now, to the second question about the scripture about wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous, and a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. I oftentimes ask people, how did the wicked get the wealth?
Mm-hmm.
How? I mean, all of us. If you're wicked, what are you doing with wealth, right?
Right.
You should be broke. And I think when Solomon wrote that proverb, it had to do with the fact that he was telling the righteous that in addition to your righteousness with Christ, that money management it's critical. It's important. It's how you get to dominate the earth. Remember, Genesis 1:26 or 27 says, have dominion over the earth. Mm-hmm. Go and replenish and so forth and so on. And you can't dominate the earth if you're broke.
Right, right.
You see what I'm
right.
saying? So, many times I interact with different Christians and different, even people from different religions. And, when we get into these discussions, I'm able to shed a light onto things that, I'm not trying to win them to my religion or what I believe or whatever. It's just a matter of educating a fellow person, another human being.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we get so territorial. Well, this is my church, and we only do it this way, and I can't talk to anyone else because they're not in my church. And Jesus never had a denomination.
Yeah.
In fact, I challenge anyone to tell me what denomination Jesus was. If you can tell me what denomination he was, I will join that denomination. The man never had a denomination. So,
Wow.
it's
Wow.
just the way it is. Yeah.
So, getting back to our investments and investment class,
Mm-hmm.
what happens when you purchase a share of stock? What does that mean? Because people always say buying stock, buy some stock, buy some stock. What does that mean, and what position does it put you in as a shareholder to invest into a company?
When you buy a share in a company or a stock, you become owner. You become an owner of a piece of that company.
Wow.
And in our society, ownership is important. We own homes, we own cars, we own businesses. Ownership is important. One of the things I love about the American system is that we have the ability to own companies. So, like, for instance, Ameren or American Water, which we know we pay these people every month, mm-hmm. we can actually own those companies. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the things that we don't realize in America is that there are many places where you don't have that option. You don't have that ability. I think one of the things that helps us as Americans is that, especially when we travel overseas and we see the living conditions of other people and what they're enduring. For example, Afghanistan right now.
Right.
I mean, they're willing to fall off of the planes.
20 years of freedom,
right,
now
right.
going back
and
to
all
oppression.
Of a sudden now it's like, and we're over here saying, well, I'm unhappy that my cornflakes didn't come with a free gift, and it's like, it's night and day.
Yeah.
But you know, all in all, we are God's children, and we have to love each other.
Yeah.
Despite our differences, despite our understandings, that's why love is the universal language.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to even know someone to express kindness to them. Have you ever noticed you've done something kind for someone and you and them may not speak the same language, but the kind act communicates?
Yeah.
It's clear. It's a communication. Smiling, smiling at people, that's a clear communication. That helps you that transfers regardless of language barriers. So I just think that all in all, I think love wins at the end. I think those who trust it and those who decide to walk in it, they'll be the victors at the end of time.
And so that's why I think exposure is so important. Exposure is so important because it gives us an opportunity to be able to meet other folks, meet other cultures, and learn other cultures, and be able to spread that love. So I thank you very much. It's funny how time flies when you're having fun.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for being our guest today.
No problem.
Hopefully we brought a lot of value to you guys out there in the viewing audience, man. Thank you, and thank you for watching another episode of Let the Truth Be Told. Thank you.